Good evening, folks. At 7 p.m., we're going to call to order the March 13th, 2019 meeting of the Town of Wilmington Board of Appeals. Everyone being present. We have a number of cases that were continued from February 13th. If anyone is asking for a continuance or withdrawal, I would impose upon you to perhaps bring that forward now so you don't have to wait, if anyone's inclined to do that. Okay, seeing no one is inclined to do that, I will take the cases in order from the docket. The first one, two cases, 1318 and 1718, both at 220 Main Street, Nouria Energy Retail, map 44, parcel 178D. First case is to acquire a special permit in accordance with 3.5.14, car wash for a property located on 220 Main Street. Second is to acquire a special permit in accordance with 6.6.6.12, the groundwater protection district for that same property located on 220 Main Street. Who do we have on behalf of the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Donald Kahn, C-O-N-N, and I'm with the firm of Smith Kahn in Peabody, Massachusetts, on behalf of Nouria Energy.
Come on up, counsel. Do you have your anyone with you?
I do. I have a number of people with me. I have Richard Williams from Williams and Sporagis Engineering, who can respond to any additional questions or comments relative to the plans. I have Richard Smith and a number of other people from Nouria Energy. We also have Dan Mills with us, who provided a traffic study in connection with this, and we have Michael Snow, who did a report relative to noise mitigation. I did receive, and I don't know whether you want to accept this or not, but we made application to Mass DOT for determination as to whether we needed any further permitting relative to the curb cut onto Main Street.
Yeah, if you have any information that will help the board out, even if it's at this late date, provide it.
Hopefully I have enough copies, but they've indicated that we don't need any further permitting or action from Mass DOT, but you can examine that.
And we'll make that a part of the record as well.
I do not know whether you've had an opportunity or to review, but we
There you go.
do have
Kelly, you can put that in the jacket too.
we do have affirmative action on our planning board site plan review application and our application for stormwater management. I didn't know whether, in terms of information, you folks wanted copies of that, or whether you already have seen copies of them, but I made...
Why don't you make them part of your presentation? Ordinarily, whatever we get from the planning board, I read into the record. It's provided by Kelly.
I just wanted to make sure, if you didn't have them, that you had an opportunity to take a look at those.
Okay, counsel, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, we did make a presentation to you the last time. I don't want to waste the board's time with redundancies.
Well, why don't you at least give us an overview, because it's been a while.
Right.
And it's been a few things that have been taking up our time since then, so.
Yeah, I understand. We haven't been here for many months. We've made application we have two requests for relief before your board. We're seeking a special permit to permit the use of the current abandoned restaurant site as a car wash, which is a permitted use in this district under your zoning ordinances. And we also have a request for special permit relative to the operation in the stormwater management district. You'll see that the planning board has approved our, the groundwater protection district, I'm sorry. You'll see that the planning board has acted favorably on our stormwater management permit application. Since we were last before you, we've had several meetings with the planning board, and during the course of our many meetings, we've made some changes to our plans. We've made, I believe, all changes that were asked by the planning board. I think many of the changes we made reflect things that your board was also concerned about when we were before you several months ago. And as I indicated, we're willing and ready and able to go through the changes.
Yeah,
you'd like
if
to
you
see
could,
those.
I can only speak on behalf of myself, but for my edification, I would like a little refresher. If you have, perhaps a diagram or a chalk or a drawing where you can articulate what the original plans were, the changes that you made, either by request of the board or the planning board or both, and so we can kind of just get an overview of the genesis of the project and how it's evolved.
That'd be great. With the permission of the board, I'll ask Mr. Williams to walk through the changes.
Sure.
So, the project remains the same in that the building is being transformed from the Sonic restaurant to a drive-through car wash. And the footprint is remaining the same. Doors are being added to each end to allow for vehicles to come in and out. The difference from when we were here last time is that we initially had our entrance to the car wash in the back and the exit from the front. And the revised design is to allow vehicles to come in and go around the building. There's 2 kiosks located on the north side of the building, and queuing would be allowed on the sides. On the side of the building, there's enough there for 20 cars. So folks would go through the kiosk and then out the back end of the car wash, and that eliminated a few issues that were out there. Concerns about noise at the street side, concerns about tracking water and car wash effluent out onto the highway. And it also allowed for us to just have a dedicated in and out to the daycare facility, so that in and out daycare is here, and the car wash is its own facility. It's got in and out, and people can come in, use the vacuums and leave, or go through the car wash. We've added a bunch of landscaping, islands here, and here in the back, and an infiltration system for the roof runoff. There was no infiltration of the roof. We're going to take the roof, building roof, and put it into the ground. And that's the crux of the change.
Could you explain the soundproofing change that we've made as well?
Yeah, we did add a sound fence on the northerly property line, which was the only location that there was a concern that there might be sound in excess of 5 decibels.
And what's the composition of the fence? How does it work?
I think I'd like to let the...
Okay, we have
Okay,
Mr. Snow is
sure.
here, and he can address
Yep.
that if you'd like him to speak as well.
The buffer or the separation between the access to the daycare and your operation, is there a curb or berm?
Yeah, there's curbing and landscaping between those two.
So you can't
Can't drive between the two.
can't drive over it. And the same with the back.
Correct.
Can't drive over that.
That's correct.
We tried to also address what we could recall as what the concerns of this board, and hopefully we've captured everything.
Okay, I'll entertain any questions or comments from the board now, but what I'm inclined to do is to hear from everybody that the applicant has to speak, and then maybe ask the questions as a group. I think that might be easier, because some of the questions we have might be answered by another individual.
Sure.
So why don't you go ahead and complete your presentation, and then we'll kick it back to the board.
Great. Mr. Mills, would you like to address the traffic briefly?
Sure. Hi, for the record, my name is Dan Mills, Principal Traffic Engineer with MDM Transportation Consultants. We completed this traffic study in September last year, made a presentation to this board, submitted it to the planning board as well, and made presentations to them. In general, the car wash use is expected to generate lower volume of traffic during the peak hours, during the morning peak hour, evening peak hour, the Saturday peak hour, as compared to a fast food restaurant. So in general, the project will have less impact on the traffic operations, intersections and whatnot along 38th and a fast food restaurant. And again, we've configured the site such that one of the questions with most drive-through facilities are, will they back up, queue back up onto the adjacent highway or cause interference with other site operations? And with the 20-car queue capacity of the drive-through, we don't see that would be an issue. Thank you.
Mr. Snow?
Come on up, sir, identify yourself and give us whatever information you have that the board needs to consider.
Mr. Chair, Council, my name is Mike Snow from MTI. I was commissioned by Golden Nozzle to prepare a sound study specific to this site. Our end goal was to confirm, or to the best of our ability, what the dB would be at all property lines surrounding this site. Because it was not a car wash to begin with, we seek to find a car wash that was comparable in size, shape, and equipment makeup that we could perform a sound study on and then overlay that onto this property. By doing so, it was determined that based on the distances from the exit door, that we would conform with the 55 dB sound ordinance at this property. It was close. We have a study that's available as well, and I believe the closest point here on the north side, at where you see this fence portion, was at about 54 dB. To be safe and to make sure that they were proactive, we designed a fence. It's a 1-inch, 8-foot-tall cedar fence. That drawing is also available in the study. The blowers have been designed to use variable frequency drives so that the speed can be reduced and the frequency changed. And a sound trap has been designed on the exit portion of this building, all in the effort to make sure that even though our projections were below the required dB at the property line, that there was a guarantee on that as well.
What's a sound trap? And then tell me if you had taken some measurements after all of your remediation was in place, any sound measurements to...
Sound trap. I was doing it. You have one here in this building, actually, in one of the conference rooms that we've used. And it's a way to, oh gosh, I have to try to find the words to explain it best. Trap certain frequencies by making them oscillate in a short span within the building. That will deaden the noise. You've used possibly headphones before in an airplane that use sound to reduce sound. Similar effect. And that's one mitigating factor that's been put into this equation. The other one is that 1-inch cedar fence. That's designed to reduce sound by 15%.
Did you take subsequent readings after your measures were in place to find out what they were?
In this case, we can't. We have to work with known technologies that are able to mitigate the influences of sound and then forecast them on this property.
Right, so the 54 that you're talking about is with all of your safeguards put in place?
No, 54 is before.
Okay.
They have elected to add these mitigating technologies in order to ensure that there would never be conflict with the code that's in place. That makes some sense?
Yeah, I just don't know why you wouldn't measure the sound after the fact to find out, what the difference is and how much it's...
I apologize, I don't understand.
Is there any way that you could have,
The site
replicated
isn't
that?
built yet. We can't.
Oh,
do
no, I
that
understand,
until-
but is there a way you could have replicated it? Is there a way that you can find out how much that sound would be diminished by those safeguards?
Oh goodness, yes. There are plenty of examples, and I apologize, I didn't bring any with me specific to the construction of.
Like, in other words, how much a cedar fence would reduce the sound by?
Yeah.
How much the sound trap would reduce the sound by?
Absolutely. And so, to quote resources like online, you could very easily research sound attenuating fence, 1-inch cedar, and by example, what the percentage of reduction would be if a fence like that was to be constructed.
Right, and then my question is, did you do that calculation? Even though it would be an estimate, did you do that calculation to determine
Yes.
what the dB would be with the safeguards in place?
So if you took the 55 dB
Right,
and then added 7 dB subtraction
okay.
from that to provide you with a 48 dB on the
That was my
opposite side
question.
of the fence.
What the difference with the remediation would approximately be?
So we'd be in about the 48 dB range on the opposite side of the fence.
Gotcha.
So is that the 15% that you actually stated? You stated 15% would be the result of putting the fence up?
Well, what we did is we went out and sampled sound from an existing facility. And we said, okay, let's make some measurements out from the exit door at this facility. Put them in a pattern of left to the wash and right to the exit side and straight ahead from the exit side. And then we mapped that on this particular facility. And we drew out the property. May I share one of these? This may make some more sense if I might approach. And I have more if you want. This is a sound study that was conducted using, we looked for facilities that were very similar in their design, construction, and identical equipment. We went to that existing facility, made measurements, and you see these lines are all measurements, all the way out to 180 feet, straight out the exit door. And then we went to 90 degrees and 90 degrees left and right, out to 100 feet. And we superimposed it on this property. These pink lines represent the property lines at this facility. And the dB at the property line, using this forecast, was 54.2 dB. And that's the closest property line here to the north at 50 feet. They said, we're under 55, which was kind of cool. And Mr. Smith said, what else could we do? Just make sure. We want to do it right, we want to do it correctly. And so we designed a fence, put that in place. This is the fence that we're talking about. And it's, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just
cutting you off.
wondering, why is it just on this corner, this part that is 54.2? Like, why isn't it on the other side?
Well, the property line on this side of the building is over 100 feet away. So as you move further away from the sound emanating devices, the sound dissipates. Yeah, it's like energy. It is energy, and it slows down.
I don't get it.
Does that make some sense?
Yeah, because you're closer to the boundary on that side than this side.
Yeah.
And if you
See,
were closer
we're
to
almost
here-
twice as far away with this property line at 100 feet than this property line here at 50 feet.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, not to speak for Mr. Snow, but his analysis indicated that we were within the confines of the ordinance prior to
Before you did all
to
this,
the
sure.
mitigating, and that the erection of the sound fence on the closest boundary should have us clearly well within the range of your ordinance.
That's helpful, that's helpful. Do you have anyone further that you wish to have bring forward before I open it up for the questions from the board?
No, those are the witnesses that we would have this
Okay,
evening.
it's not a trial, but I mean, close enough, sometimes it is. Anybody from the board wish to ask any questions of the applicant?
So I have a question for you. My concern is the daycare center in the back. So the way the traffic pattern is, it seems to flush out. The car wash traffic moves in parallel with and blends in with the daycare going out. So I'm having trouble understanding if there's gonna be any intrusion with that daycare in the morning and then the pickup. So the way this looks, they're coming out and then you're getting your traffic and they're blending in on one lane going out. So I'm
Correct.
concerned about
There-
that.
So each direction has a stop line and a stop sign. So folks leaving here need to stop, folks leaving here need to stop. So they will be going into the same path, but there's not enough traffic there to not allow, so that those folks will be able to get out. They may have to wait for a second for a person at the car wash or vice versa, but, we've accounted for that.
How did you
With
account,
traffic
how did you
controls.
account for it?
With on-site traffic control, stop signs and stop bars.
So-
It's not uncommon to have on-site traffic that, folks are going to the same place.
Yeah.
We did change the traffic flow also in response to the wishes of the planning board.
What was the difference, what was the difference before and after with the traffic pattern? What was the improvement made?
The entrance and the exits were in the reverse order.
In the reverse
The
order,
folks
right.
from the daycare in the prior design were leaving around this building.
Wrapping around, right.
And the concern was that folks leaving were gonna intersect with that traffic.
Right.
So this is the solution to that.
So you got the intersect on the other side, but you have stop signs to,
And we have stop signs and everyone can see where everyone is. You're not hidden by the building, and that was the concern on the other design.
Then finally, I don't know if it's in here, and I apologize if it is, but how long does it take for one car to go in and out of the car wash?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes. And so how many would be going out in a full flow pattern? In other words, if you had traffic wanting to go into the car wash, and it began, and it continued out, how long would that process take?
You mean if there's a line?
Yeah.
Well, it depends how long the line is. So for
How long, in the building itself, how many cars does it hold as it's moving up?
about 5 cars,
About 5 cars. And each car takes how long to get out?
about 2 minutes.
About 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have roughly, every 10 minutes, 5 cars would be coming out in a max situation?
No, about every, on a busy day.
Yeah,
busy
yeah, I'm
day,
saying full busy, yeah,
we would do about 100 cars an hour.
100 cars an hour. Okay. Yeah, I
So
wish
it's
I
about
knew, I
40
wish,
seconds between cars.
between 40 seconds between cars leaving, right? So,
Which is a lot if you're sitting and you need to get into the queue with 40 seconds between cars. It's a big gap, so it's not like these folks are gonna have to wait. I would say it'll be unusual for 2 cars to land there at the same time.
okay. Did you ever think about, and I don't know whether, you have 2 stop signs. Would there be a consideration to have a yield sign on the car wash side so that they would have, the traffic coming from the daycare center would have a priority going out?
We didn't consider that. I mean, I'll let Dan speak to that. He's the traffic expert, but
In that
my
way-
opinion is that I think both should stop so that it's clear that.
Well, they are stopping. It's just one has a preference over the other. A yield means you have to stop if necessary. All right, so my point is that if there was traffic coming out of the daycare center, it would be allowed to flow out before the car wash would. And I don't think that's gonna be often, because I think drop-off and pickups are gonna probably be in spurts. So, if the traffic's allowed to go out and there's a yield sign, they'd look to see if the traffic was cleared out before they would proceed.
We didn't consider it, and I understand what you're saying, but I think the safest thing is to have both vehicles stop.
Well, I really think I would like to see the priority of the daycare center getting through that pattern. I mean, that's just my own opinion. Where, so the preference would be for that back daycare to be out first. And that way, you wouldn't have somebody who's, looking at their car to see if it got washed or anything else. Once they hit that yield sign, they have to stop. They know what a yield is. A yield is you stop if you have to. So even though they would stop, they move forward they could cut somebody off.
I think in a yield situation, you're expecting that both cars are allowed to go if they're.
No, no.
That's not a required stop
No,
on
that's
the
not
other
the way,
side.
that's not the way yield works.
Okay.
That's not the way yield works.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment on that, Ken Dan Mills from MDM. So we just have to recognize that there is also entering traffic, so we, you know, the yield applies, yes, it would apply to be able to stop with the folks that are exiting, but we want these folks to stop to yield to folks that are entering the property, so that they're not backing
But
out.
there wouldn't be any yield there, them going in, there's no
This
yield sign going in, right?
So the yield sign, if there was a yield sign placed on the exiting traffic for the daycare, you
No,
would
no,
need-
the yield sign is for the traffic coming out of the car wash itself.
I thought you
So in
were-
other words, the stop sign would have the preference. Once they stop, they move forward. If there's a traffic of all of that, the yield sign would have to wait. The stop sign, I believe, has a preference over the yield sign. It could be wrong, but that was my understanding.
Our recommendation is to have them both stop, as Mr. Williams is.
Was this brought up before the planning board, this issue?
Well, we went through it in detail regarding where they wanted the stop signs and where they wanted the stop lines. And that's what this plan reflects. It reflects the discussions between the engineering department and the planning department, the traffic consultant and the engineering.
I think this is a big improvement over what's there.
No, I'm not
Right-
saying
right-
it isn't a
Right
big
now,
one.
there's no control, and they're adding an island in, they're adding stop signs in. I just think it's they're making a bad, very, I think, a poor site plan better. I mean, I very much dislike properties that are subdivided like this, where you have to access a rear site through the front site.
Right, right.
But I think this, was poorly designed from the beginning to squeeze these two lots in, and I think this is a better situation.
So so you're gonna have people coming in from the side here? You have people they're gonna come in, whether they go to the car wash or they go to so you've got two people coming out of the daycare, or one person coming out of the daycare, one coming out of the car wash. What about coming in? There's enough room there that?
Well, yeah,
that kind of
there's
a
plenty of room.
traffic jam?
That's very wide, actually. It's at least 24, and it widens out to more than that.
Seems a little bit of a cluster from the picture.
Counselor, did you want to talk about groundwater while we're at it, before I open up to, is there anything you wanted to add to
Well,
that?
the only change that this plan makes is we're adding significant islands and green space that don't exist on the current plan, so that, and Mr. Williams can tell me how much of the bituminous surface is going to be reduced, but it's going to be it's going to be a better site in terms of that issue as a result of this new plan.
Can I ask a question? So was there ever any thought to making another entrance, where the cars come on the, I don't know, the left-hand side? So they could have their exclusive entrance in and out?
On Route 38?
Yeah, and so then
Yeah,
make the
those
dates-
would be too close. And I think Dan can speak to that, but we would likely not get a permit there. We've got to have 30-foot roundings, so those would, even if they did fit, would intersect each other. And they prefer to have limited entrances. They don't want to have entrances that close, because it creates other conflicting movements on the highway itself. But we added roughly 5,000 square feet of pavement. I'm sorry, of reduced the
I was
pavement
gonna
by
say,
about
that's not gonna-
5,000
that's not
square
helping
feet. And put the roof into the ground. And we also, there were some catch basins that were online, and there was a concern about water going through those and stirring up sediment in the catch basin. We took them offline, so it's an improvement there as well.
Great. Any other questions at this moment before I read in the planning board recs on this case?
Just, Mr. Chairman, just if I could say in conclusion,
Sure.
during the course of this project, we have worked very hard to address each and every concern that's been raised by the town officials during the course of this. I believe we've made every change that was requested. We've brought in experts and we've attempted to answer every question. I think we have. Hopefully you agree with us.
Thank you, Counsel. Kelly, do you have I know I have the approval here, but do you have the actual recommendations from the planning board on this? Please let me read them into the record before I open up the public hearing.
I think I gave those. Hold on. Yep.
I mean, I have the decision, but it's rather voluminous. Do they have just the recommendations?
Well, the first part, that's all, the decisions is what I have.
Okay, but you don't,
Their
usually they
recommendations.
provide us with their recommendation on each
Well,
of the
they
permits.
stated that on the few pages after, what they wanted and what was done. They bulleted it.
All right, well, I guess I'll read this portion of this. It says, "The Wilmington Planning Board has reviewed and approved the stormwater management application." And then they give some conditions and standard conditions and special conditions. Did they issue a recommendation on the special permit itself?
They approved it. On one of their bullets, it addresses both.
Usually they give us a list of recommendations to the, it's a memorandum that they provide to the Board of Appeals on each case with their recommendations. I read into that.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
That's all I got from them.
All right, well, the planning board has approved both, or recommended approval, on both of the special permit applications. So I can at least state that for the record. I'm gonna open up the public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak, please stand, give your name and your address, and address the board. Anyone wanna start off? Don't be shy. Hi, sir, how are you?
King Triton Car Wash, 581 Main Street,
What's your name, sir?
Felix, Toronto. I am the competition up the street.
Sure.
I just want to speak, say what I have to say.
Yep.
Just a couple of questions. Golden Nozzle Nouria was absolutely right. We cut the tunnel on a busy day, we'll do 100 to 120 cars an hour. However, 100 to 120 cars an hour is not 40 seconds between each car, basic math. They're nose to nose going through the tunnel. They're exiting right back to back, exiting the tunnel. So you're gonna have 100 and something feet of tunnel. Every car's about 15, average car length is now about 15 feet. So that'll get your math for the cars exiting. The other question I had was the cars aiming out this way, exiting. We don't live in a perfect world. We all drive. Everyone's texting, nobody's paying attention. We're all getting worse driving than better. So we're asking customers to actually hug this corner, exiting, to hug this corner, exiting instead of cutting across, so you have traffic interacting with each other at this intersection. Exiting traffic. The busiest times for the daycare are first thing in the morning and drop-offs, and the evenings, around 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, which is actually the busiest times for the car wash. Car wash times are in the morning, people going to work, people come home to work, drop off your kids, pick up your kids. You're gonna create traffic problems with people coming in, especially leaving and exiting. And we're asking the public to drive respectfully, let people by. Well, if you get a couple cars blocking, it's gonna hold up traffic on 38, on the most dangerous intersection that we have in our town of Wilmington. You're also gonna be dumping all the traffic out at the same time. My question with the sound decibels, I understand we're a big focus on the back part of the property. However, and there already is a fence there, I don't know if it's sound deadening, but the entrance also has 2 pay stations, a lot of flow traffic. Your dryers, even at the end, even on VFDs, they still hit a peak drive. They do hold back, VFDs will hold back a buffer, so the thing doesn't always shut down and then spike way up. But it does hit a peak sound and a peak drying capacity of that same dryer, just controls and regulates the speed. That sound is still traveling down the tunnel and exiting with the conveyor and everything else, with the town base stations, with the flow of traffic, sending sound out this same entrance that they were trying to move the sound from. The other thing is, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 vacuums. My site is 3 times the size of that, and I only have 8 vacuums. So, that sound of the central vac system, which actually runs on the same VFD system like he says, but it's constantly running. Because it's all on one big motor, one big tank, and it is constantly running, so it's constantly making noise right at that vacuums. And when someone picks it up, the VFD ring opens up the power, creates more sound, suction, you can vacuum, you put it down, it brings it down. If a bunch of vacuums are being used on the free vacuums, it's gonna get louder and louder, creating the sound towards this way. I didn't know, I was curious of the comparison to what car wash they actually did the sound study against. You didn't mention which car
Do you have
washes
that
have you?
information?
Yeah, it's in your little manual there. It was in Old Orchard Beach, Maine.
Do you know the name of it offhand?
It's the same Golden Nozzle car wash.
It's the same
Same
outfit?
owned by the same
Same
owners.
equipment's going in.
So it's your
Brand new.
outfit in Old Orchard?
Yeah, it's brand new equipment and everything.
Similar in construction, similar in landscape.
But that's pretty much, and even the cars out, the exit, I mean, the other way was, I understand, but you're still interacting traffic here, going across, exiting traffic with the cars right here, waiting on the stacking. There is 20 cars stacking here, but when you have backup stacking on those busy 100-car days, cars coming out, customers stop, they look at their cars. A lot of customers don't have common sense. So, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else wish to be heard? Going once, going twice? All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing on this particular application, bring it back to the board for any other questions, comments, or deliberation.
So actually, I have a couple questions. So you talked about a pay station. So the pay station is not manned, it's just, automated?
Yeah, it's automated gates, yep.
But there'll be attendants on site when we're open to assist anybody at the base stations.
And, so there's no drying, hand drying at the end of it?
Correct.
So, to the point of having so many vacuum, stations, why couldn't you maybe, eliminate a few at the end and then have the traffic specifically for the car wash to come more straight? I feel that it's still a problematic with that entrance coming in, the daycare, and to the point of, it's gonna be a cluster. I feel, people coming in, trying to get in, people going out. And you'd probably, if you just eliminated it, like 2 or 3 of the vacuums and have them, have the car people kind of somehow straighten this out a little bit. If they're coming down, like get them over here. I find it hard to believe that people coming in, it's not like there's a stop sign for these people to come in, and it is gonna clog up 38. If there's so many people coming
I
into
don't know why it would
it.
clog up 38, because these people are able to come in and get into the site, or get into the daycare. There's no stop sign there. The only stop sign is here and here for people that are leaving, so that they don't conflict with.
So you're still gonna, so this will get backed up, people are they're coming down here, and you don't think this is gonna get clogged up with,
I
you
don't,
said
because
100
of
people
the
coming
traffic
out?
volumes. I know that we're, there was a comment that 100 cars is more than a car every 40 seconds, but I don't know how that math works. It's 36 seconds if you do the math. 36 seconds per car. And that's a long gap, and I think I'll let Dan talk about that a little more. It's a long gap to deal with the traffic conflict.
Can I make one point in response to that? If you look at the traffic study that Mr. Mills has prepared, he's indicated that the prior restaurant use was a much higher volume traffic use than this. This is significantly less traffic than the prior restaurant use. I don't think during the time that it was used as a restaurant that you had backups on Route 38. And this will be far less of a burden on the property.
I believe that there was backup when it first came, and then the fanfare kind of went away.
Yeah,
and
to be,
a
if I
lot,
might,
so.
I've represented all the Sonics in this area, and each time one opens, you have, as a result of the opening, crazy traffic. But after this opened, I'm not aware, and it was never brought to my attention by my client, that there was any issue of people queuing out onto Route 38, and we certainly, I think, would have heard of it if it was a problem.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the fanfare died out, that it wasn't as busy, so it wasn't problematic. Is what
Well, but I
Right.
think if you look at the expert's report, he's indicating that the restaurant use at any time generated more traffic than this use will generate.
If I just make a quick comment, there are certainly times when, you know, maybe right now, when people have a lot of salt in their car and they're getting a car wash, there's gonna be some peak time periods. There's gonna Saturday, 60-degree Saturday when everybody wants to go and get their car washed. That's kind of what I do, that's my habit. At those times, on a Saturday, we don't have the daycare facility in operation. They are sort of metered. They don't, you don't have 10 cars coming out of this facility at one time. They're sort of regulated. There is a gap between them. And the queuing doesn't, if it does take place, it's on site. It's in an area that's controlled. And there are stop signs, there are traffic controls in place. Again, it's low speed area. And there's plenty of room to queue and stack on site. Our concern is to get the vehicles off of Route 38. I think we've accomplished that by having these separate areas that you can turn off onto. So I guess for those reasons, we think that it will work pretty efficiently.
Anybody else have anything?
What are the hours of operation going to be?
7 to 8.
7 days a week?
Yes, 8 to 7, 8 to 8 on Saturdays.
Okay. And I haven't heard it tonight, but I know which direction you're going. When you leave this car wash or facility property, you're definitely going to be going, taking a right-hand turn,
Right.
so.
Yeah, correct.
Anything else? Anyone?
Actually, another question. How often is the machine calibrated that lets us know how the decimals are? Like who, is that just a machine that you show up and, you test it? Like how often is it tested for the sound?
There currently is no protocol for that. I'm certain working for these folks at Golden Nozzle that they will do their due diligence and make absolutely certain that what they told you it will do, it will do. So on opening or during the opening process, those decibels will be confirmed at the property line.
So, did you test for, as the other gentleman had stated, for the sound that comes out of the other side, the entrance in? So you have the sound from when you come out, but how about the other end of the building?
There was no purposeful study done on the entrance side. We identified the loudest point of the car wash and logically said, well, what does it look like at that loudest end of the car wash? And then how does that look at the property lines? So if we're able to satisfy a regulation at the property line, emanating from the loudest point at the car wash, we would assume that we would be able to do the same from an area of the car wash that's known to be.
So up
That's
in,
not-
And not only that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but not only that, but the building is much further away from the street at the front than the side of the property is to the rear. So it's not only is it quieter, but it's further away from the property line.
Did that help answer that question?
Anything else? Does anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve case 13-18 to acquire special permit in accordance with 3.5.14 at the property located at 220 Main Street.
Let's do that one first. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-1. It passes. Next.
Make a motion to approve case 17-18, 220 Main Street, Nouria Energy Retail, to acquire special permit in accordance with 6.6.6.12 in a groundwater protection district for the property located at 220 Main Street.
Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Passes. Thank you.
Thank you for your time,
All
Mr.
right, good
Chairman.
luck with your business. Thank you. Okay, next case on the docket is another continued case from February 13th. Case 1918, 7 Concord Street, Lijun Zoo, care of F. Alex Parra Esquire, map 62, parcel 29, to appeal the decision of the Inspector of Buildings dated September 14th and September 25th, 2018, for an Airbnb strictly prohibited for the property located at 7 Concord Street. We don't see the applicant present. Did you get a call that they were not gonna be present?
I did not.
Okay. Well, I'm a little loath to deny it without the applicant present or approve it. I mean, perhaps we should entertain a motion to take no action?
yeah.
I mean, the applicant's not here.
But just from my knowledge, does the applicant have to be here to bylaw requirement, or, I mean,
Well,
you've
I
been
mean-
around a while. I mean,
Yeah,
is
I
it-
mean,
have you ever done
I've
it
never
without-
seen it, I've never seen the board take action on an application where the petitioner or their counsel wasn't present.
Okay.
But there is if we deny it, there is a negative implication that takes place because of that denial.
Okay.
I'm a little reluctant to either grant them what they're looking for in their absence or somehow prejudice them in their absence. I'm a little surprised we haven't heard. They do have counsel that's representing them, but I would, and I'm only one person, my inclination would be I don't want to table it because I don't want to take it up again. I want to remove it from the docket. But I guess I could say that we could just take no action. Just take no action on the application.
So does that mean that tomorrow, they're like, oh, well.
No,
what's that?
no, I want to make it clear that if we do that, they're going to have, if they wanted to reapply, then they're going to have to go through the process all over again, notify the abutters, do the whole thing all over again.
Yeah,
I mean, this isn't an approval, it's not a denial or an approval, but it's just taking no action at this time. Or a motion to withdraw it, we could even do that. Motion to have it withdrawn without prejudice, we could do that, if someone wants to make that motion.
I'll make a motion to, what did you say, wait?
Take no action and withdraw the petition without prejudice, that's it.
I just have one question. Is it proper to give out any information regarding any other information that's been added since the last time we have some decision, we asked for in public hearing, you know, for council inputs and all that.
I would
stuff.
prefer that we don't have a hearing on the application without the applicant here.
No, I mean, just to talk about correspondence.
But that's having a hearing on the application without the applicant here. I don't even want to get into it. If they're not here, I don't want to have a hearing in absentia. I don't think it's fair to them, and it's a waste of our time.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I make a motion to take no action with no prejudice on.
Withdraw without
Withdraw-
prejudice.
Withdraw without prejudice, case 19-18 / 7 Concord Street.
That's fine.
It's,
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. The matter is withdrawn without prejudice. No action taken thereto. Next case on the docket is another continued case from February 13th, 2019. Case 119 and 219, both matters regarding 196 Ballardvale Street, Mapvale LLC. Map R2, parcel 7E. The first application is a special request for a special permit in accordance with 3.5.1.1 for retail under 30,000 square feet for the property located at 196 Ballardvale Street. And the second, 219, to acquire a special permit in accordance with 6.6.7.7 groundwater protection district for the property located on that same 196 Ballardvale Street. Hi,
Good evening.
Hi.
Ben Osgood, Ranger Engineering.
what's your name again, sir?
Ben Osgood. And I have Paul Nealon here as well, the managers of the Mapvale LLC.
Okay.
We
Why
would-
don't you let us know, this was a continued case. I think we have heard some testimony on it. If you could just get us up to speed, what the board was perhaps looking for, if you've got it, and where we're going from here.
I think we were here last month, and we just made a brief presentation about the project. The project was previously approved for the same two special permits by this board. Those approvals have expired, so we're here to renew the approvals. The plan is essentially the same as that. We have gone through the planning and the Conservation Commission, and they have issued their approvals. There were not a lot of changes to what was originally submitted, just some tweaking of engineering and that sort of thing. So it is the same layout, the same drainage system as was submitted. It's just been, the engineering details have been worked out. Essentially, asking for the permit for the retail under 30,000 square feet in the highway industrial zone. There is a need for this type of thing here. This isn't a very large industrial district that has very few services to service those industrial buildings, and very few services to serve adjacent residential districts, which are in the outlying portion of Wilmington. So there is a need. It's 9,900 square feet, I believe. It would have a drive-through end cap, plus a second restaurant on the other end cap, and then the balance would be retail. We meet all the requirements of parking, offsets, open space, height of the building, and so on. It would look pretty much the same as I think it's 201 Ballardvale Street, or the other building? 206 Ballardvale Street, which is a retail strip center with a Dunkin' Donuts and a restaurant. It would look pretty much the same as that. As far as the groundwater district is concerned, we've gone through produced a drainage report and done the hydraulic calculations to show that we meet the stormwater management regulations of the state and of the town of Wilmington, which are more restrictive than the state regulations. We're using infiltration in an underground infiltration system to provide recharge. We provide treatment with a treatment swale, some vortex separators, deep sump catch basins, and then underground treatment systems. Portions of the underground system also provide treatment. So we have an 85% TSS removal rate for any stormwater moving off the site. So we're in compliance with all the regulations. So I think,
So if I recall, the last time you were here, basically, and board, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that some members of the board were waiting on is for you to successfully go through the planning board.
Correct.
And obtain both site plan and plan approval, which we have here, and they also granted an approval for the stormwater.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, that seems straightforward to me, but I'll open it to the board for any questions. Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
The only question I have is, in the letter we got from the planning board, there were, prior to endorsement of the plan, there were a number of clarifications they wanted, parking calculations, grease trap labels, was all that stuff addressed?
Yes, basically, we redid the parking calcs on one page, and it didn't get done on the other page. But, so we just had to correct that. I think there was a typo in the sewer invert on the grease trap.
In the layout, calculated to revise to be retail use and all that
Right,
stuff?
right, we didn't label it specifically retail.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? All right, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone here wish to be heard on this particular application? Going once, going twice? I'm gonna close the public hearing. Board, does anyone have any comments, or would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve case 1-19 at 196 Ballardville Street to acquire a special permit in accordance with 3.5.1.1 for retail property under 30,000 square feet located at Ballardville Street, at 196 Ballardville Street, and approve it and include the conditions set forth by the planning board.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it. Okay.
There was a tie. Ladies first, so Jackie will second it. All those in favor? Aye, unanimous. And then the next one?
Make a motion to approve case 2-19, 196 Ballardville Street, Mapvale LLC, to acquire a special permit in accordance with 6.6.7.7 groundwater protection district for property located on 196 Ballardville Street, and include the conditions set forth by the planning board decision.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Ms. Santini. All those in favor? Unanimous. Good luck. Okay, next case is, I don't see him here. Well, I have a letter from Attorney Newhouse saying that he's going to be here. Have you heard from him?
I'm sorry, which case?
Pardon?
Mike's in the hallway.
Can you go grab him? This case is being called. Thanks, Paul. I don't want to have to withdraw it without prejudice. All right, I'm gonna call case 319, 19, 11, and 917 Main Street, MT Pokkets Realty Trust, map 45, parcel 137, to acquire a special permit in accordance with 6.6.7.7 groundwater protection district for the property located at 911, 917 Main Street.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to excuse myself for my direct abutter.
Okay, Mr. Lepore has indicated he is going to recuse himself from the hearing, as he is an abutter to the applicant and has not obtained any waiver. And we'll call you back afterwards, Ray. Good evening, counsel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, how are you?
Good.
Sorry to keep you waiting there, we're down the hall.
Where are we, counsel?
Well, the last time we were in, we'd given a quick overview of the project. By way of reminder, it's really driven by an after-the-fact notice of intent for work that was done after a certificate of compliance had been issued, but the more recent work that had been done, no notice of intent had been filed. So all the work is within the regulations, and now after the fact has been approved by Conservation. We did a site plan review. That site plan review and stormwater management permit were both approved by the planning board. We came before this board last month in the hopes of getting a special permit because the property is located in a groundwater protection district. And at that point, we learned that the planning board provided a recommendation, a positive recommendation, but subject to our providing some information that I didn't have at my fingertips that night. And that information has been provided by way of a follow-up correspondence to the board. And namely, it indicates that the total impervious surface at the project will be 64,510 square feet. The land area is over 2.6 acres. So essentially, the total impervious area represents 56% of the locus. So with that information, with the stormwater management permit having been issued, we believe that's all the information that the board will need, but certainly prepared to answer any questions.
Has the planning board provided us with anything further since our last meeting?
No,
Okay.
no.
Does any members of the board have any questions at this point of the applicant?
Were there, so we didn't see a decision like this from the planning board?
No, I don't believe we did.
On this one. The planning board.
Or we did,
well,
but we did see a decision.
And
but
they were just waiting on
They were
this.
requesting information that the applicant's
Which he
counsel
did
has
submit.
now submitted.
And that's all, that was their only condition, that they
But did
met
they,
that.
No,
after
that was-
that, did
that's
they
what-
approve it?
They did approve it,
With
as
no,
long as
with
that-
no conditions?
just that they calculate the
Oh, they
impervious.
approved that, but did they improve the overall?
Yeah, they granted an
Not
approval,
approval.
subject on the conditions that
Of
the
that.
applicant provide the information
I remember that, I
that he
remember that.
That he did.
that he did.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just for the sake of completeness, in the decision, I did bring extra copies in the event that that information was requested. There are special conditions about erosion controls being inspected by the Department of Planning and Conservation. That's done as a matter of course, but is listed as a special condition. Applicant will give reasonable notice to the engineering division for inspection prior to installing the stormwater management system. And then snow shall not be pushed into the stormwater management areas. And then they also want us to record the operation and maintenance plan, which has been approved.
Anyone have anything? I'll open up to a public hearing. Anyone here wishing to be heard on this particular application? Going once, going twice. I'm going to close the public hearing. Does any member of the board have any additional comments, questions, or does anyone wish to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve case 3-19, with the address of 911-917 Main Street, to acquire a special permit in accordance with 6.6.7.7 Groundwater Protection District for the property located at 911-917 Main Street.
Do we have a second on that motion?
One second.
Second by Mr. Siracusa. All those in favor? Aye. It's 4-0 with Mr. Lepore having recused himself. Good luck, folks.
Thank you all.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
Next case on the docket is case 419, 140 to 150 Middlesex Ave, 4th of July Committee, map 52, parcel 66, to acquire a special permit in accordance with 4.1.9. Yeah, somebody could get Ray. That would be great. Why don't I hold that up? There he is. To acquire a special permit in accordance with 4.1.9 for a carnival to run from July 3rd, 2019 through Saturday, July 6th, 2019, with a rain date of July 7th, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott Corinne on behalf of the 4th of July
How you doing, Scott?
All right, so
Good.
brought my well-tattered plans that I store for 364 days a year. We do have one new abutter here who I've already spoken with previous to tonight, so if you beg my indulgence, I'll go through what you've heard many times. So the planned dates for this year's celebration are Wednesday, July 3rd through Saturday, July 6th, which, as the chairman said, has a rain date of Sunday, July 7th. Family Day will be on Thursday, July 4th, and the big night with our fireworks and our celebration ceremony will be on Saturday, July 6th. The carnival, which is under the purview of the board, is proposed to operate as follows: Wednesday, July 3rd from 6 to 10, Thursday, July 4th from noon to 10 p.m., Friday, July 5th from 6 to 10, and Saturday, July 6th. I just called Friday the 6th?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Friday, July 5th from 6 to 10, Saturday the 6th from noon to 10. The rain date, if necessary, in deference to the churches, carnival would open at 1 o'clock and close at 10 p.m. The hours of operation for the carnival vary from year to year depending upon the day of the week upon which the holiday falls. This year, of the 4 days, we have both a holiday and a weekend day, which result in more daytime hours of operation for the carnival than would be the case in a year in which we have, for example, 3 weekdays. The location of the key components of the celebration are proposed to be the same as they have been since 2016. The participating nonprofit organizations on the common towards the rear, carnival in the parking lot next to the 4th of July building, and the fireworks launched from the grass practice field situated on the Wildwood Street side of the high school campus. It's once again anticipated that that we have traditionally had to be a part of the celebration. Concerts, meals, games, family day on the 4th will be conducted as they always have been. These events are planned to predominantly be staged on the town common. No exception would be the road race, which runs down 5K, 2.5K out and 2.5K back. Committee members and town officials, including public safety officials, will meet as we always do for planning purposes and will work together to address factors including vehicle and pedestrian traffic, noise, lighting, etc. Parking will once again be available at the high school, and it is anticipated at St. Thomas Church. Middlesex Ave will be closed to vehicular traffic during these events at Adams Street and at the head of the common. And shuttle buses will once again be run from locations throughout town on the big night. The following rules, which we've always imposed in the carnival, will once again be imposed this year. Committee will have contractual control over the noise levels of music from the carnival rides and will instruct the carnival vendor to disconnect all air horns and similar noise-producing devices. The carnival vendor will be required to provide the Wilmington Police Department with the names and social security numbers of all staff members so that the police can conduct query checks. Only one carnival employee will be allowed to stay on site overnight, and that's for security purposes. The vendor will be required to provide proof of insurance satisfactory to both the committee and the town manager, naming both the committee and the town as insured parties. And once again, setup and breakdown of any equipment will only be allowed between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. In terms of the layout, as has been the case in the past, the layout will be designed to provide a buffer to the extent possible from those who live on Powder House Circle. The layout will be such that fire lanes providing access to all areas will be maintained. The carnival vendor will be required to utilize only quiet run generators. And in addition to coordinating traffic and parking, along with the committee and other volunteers, the police personnel will be within the carnival at all times it's operating. Also, the carnival vendor will be required to maintain an equal balance of kiddie rides and major rides. Mindful of safety, including the maintenance of the fire lanes within the carnival, the vendor will only be permitted to place at the site rides, games, and concession stands as are permitted by the fire department. A sample carnival layout has been submitted to the board with the application. As has always been the case, final approval of the number of rides and siting of rides and booths will be under the jurisdiction of the fire department. It has been conveyed to me by the fire department that the space in the parking lot can readily handle more rides than has been situated there in the last 3 years. And it's been conveyed to me by the deputy chief, with copies to the chief, that they're more than willing to undertake to determine how many rides can safely be there. In terms of public safety and convenience, restrooms, in addition to the portable toilets shown on the plan, handicap facilities will be available in the 4th of July building. In the case of inclement weather, meals and band performances will be relocated to the Knights of Columbus Hall. In the case of a sudden unexpected weather event, the high school will be available for shelter. Parking and street closures will be the same, be coordinated by committee members in conjunction with public safety officials. Volunteers, committee members, and the police will be used to man parking areas and street closures and to offer directions. The neighborhood between School Street at Middlesex Ave and Drury Lane at Glen Road will be closed to vehicle traffic other than residents and their guests at all times during which the celebration is being operated. The committee will provide permits for those residents of the neighborhood and their guests. And the fireworks, again, fall under the jurisdiction of the Wilmington Fire Department in conjunction with the state's Fire Marshal Office, and once again will be shot on the grass practice field in the Wildwood section of the Wildwood side, of the high school campus. Happy to entertain any questions. expecting.
just have
I
one
am
question.
expecting, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, sorry. I am expecting Larry Cushing. He does have one request, so.
Oh, okay. I mean, we'll hold it open for him. I just have one question. I'm looking, and maybe I'm just reading this wrong, but I'm looking at the map. The request is for an equal amount of kiddie rides and, I guess you'd call them adult or major rides. And according to your map, I just counted, it looks like the kiddie rides are 5 and the other ones are 9.
Yeah, that's the layout, and as I said in the application and this evening, that's a sample layout that we've utilized in the past. Well, GCG was kind enough to generate for us in years past, but it could be less if the fire department determines that less is appropriate.
Well, I'm just concerned, I would like to see an equal amount, and if possible, I see, and again, I'm assuming that it might be easier for the kiddie rides, and I'm not the type of person, I don't plan these things, but perhaps the kiddie rides could be closer or away from the main traffic. But again, I count just 5 to 9. And usually, when we have a plan attached to an application, and we grant the application, we're pretty strictly adhere to the plan. So, I mean, I know the verbiage says that the carnival will have an equal amount, but if we approve a plan that has 9 to 5, we're kind of putting us in a box here. Look, I have no problem if the fire department is satisfied that they can fit safely a certain amount of rides on there, that's fine, but I like the feel of the carnival when it's geared towards families, and if we could hold you to what you're saying in your application and having an equal amount, I think that would be something that I would be looking for.
Yeah, and I'm certainly mindful of that, as much as I'm mindful as the carnival would, from a profit standpoint, would like to have 15 large rides and 2 kiddie rides.
Right.
But I'm very mindful of 2 factors. Number 1, we want to keep it an equal balance, and we'll require it. And number 2, we want to keep the kiddie rides closest to School Street from the noise factor.
Okay, and that's fine. I mean, I would be comfortable, though, if we do, and I anticipate we would approve the application, I would be comfortable if we made it a condition that there would be an equal amount of kiddie rides and adult rides, notwithstanding the plan. Because the plan is 9 to 5, which to me is not really equal, so. And I don't want to, the application, I guess, is internally inconsistent. If you were to say that the plan is just a guideline and it's not binding, that's fine, but the way we handle every other application that comes in is that we take the plan as almost gospel. When we say that that's been the way we've been doing it. So, I mean, I'm just mindful of that. I mean, I think the celebration's been wonderful. The last few years, I live right there, and by the way, I got a waiver, so everybody at home, I got a waiver from the Board of Selectmen so I can hear this. It's been a wonderful celebration. I've been there, I've been home. I've been very impressed with the way that it's been done. It's been a safe, family, wholesome, great experience. I have nothing but good things to say the last few years this has been run. And I'm
Appreciate it.
In fact, I think I made motion, either it wasn't last year, it was hospitalized the year before. So I have no problem with it, and I'm fully in support of it. But I would like to see it remain the family fun, the family-generated atmosphere that it is now. Because I think I can speak for my neighbors that I've spoken to, and the folks that I just hear in passing, that they all agree that it's been a wonderful experience, and it's been really good for the town. So if I can just, make that comment, I would be looking that there'd be an equal amount in the application as a condition.
How many total rides were there last year, Scott?
Give me one moment. 12 to 14 was the final approval.
Do you know what the ratio of rides was last year?
It's been impressed upon the vendor that it has to be equal.
Has it been, though? I mean, I don't know, I don't count
I
them.
believe it has been. And certainly will be reiterated.
So, in my opinion, the way that if everything was going great the last, 2 years since we've ironed a lot of details out, my opinion would be to keep it the same. I would not be in favor to be adding more rides. Keep it the status quo is what I would only care for.
Respectfully, on what basis? Because I don't see myself as qualified to determine how many rides can be there safely, but the fire department is. Just as they're capable of determining how many people can sit inside the auditorium at the high school safely.
So, but you're coming, everything was fine the last 2-3 years. Why all of a sudden now we are looking, so the fire department doesn't say like, oh yeah, by the way, you can add more, rides, and that's, no, why not just leave it the way that it is? There was less problems, and everybody was happy and had compliments regarding it. I don't see why increasing more rides is going to, why? Why add more rides then?
Well, it certainly makes it.
Besides a profit for somebody.
It makes it more attractive, certainly, to older kids. And I have a 16-year-old, so we're a family. You know, and certainly, in my experience, this is my 22nd year involved. In my experience, once the kids get to high school, they don't really come down. They don't come down for the rides. But the kids who are in middle school come down and they say, there's only 4 rides. There's only 5 rides that I want to ride. I'm going to come down one time and that's it. I'm done. So
That's the prerogative. So why are you trying to advocate, if they're gonna come down, there's other things to do. I don't see why that's not good enough. Who
Well,
is it not good enough for?
those attending.
But everybody had a great time. Everybody's complimenting it, everybody's saying that there was no problems, what is one extra ride gonna actually do besides a profit?
I'm not here to talk about profit. I'm not interested in the carnival's profit, other than make it attractive for them to come. But that's not your issue, that's my issue. It makes it a more attractive event for the kids to come down. The kids come down, they come down one night and they say, all right, we rode the 4 rides, I'm not gonna come back down tomorrow night. We're putting on an event for 23,000 people in the community.
And that's great, and everybody has a great time. I don't understand why, what 1 more or 2 more rides is gonna actually, go to a level that
Okay,
it's
so let me give
needed.
you a response and I'll throw the question back to you. We hear the people, the kids down there saying, the carnival's too small, the carnival doesn't have enough good rides, the older kids, middle schoolers, doesn't have enough rides for us. So my question back to you is, what's the harm in providing them 2 more rides and the kids 2 more rides, or 1 more ride and 1 more ride? If the fire department can maintain safety.
still not for it. Because if it's a family day, they can.
Scott, how many rides were on there last year?
I want to say 14, because if we said 12 to 14 carnivals being carnivals, they're going to go to 14.
Okay, and then the year before was roughly the same?
Yeah.
So, and what you're seeking now, even though the division on the plan isn't equal, I'm seeing 14. So, I'm just asking you straight out, is what you're proposing now, how in any way is it different than what you proposed the last couple of years?
The number could be higher.
Than 14?
Than 14,
Well,
if the fire department
The
permits it.
last application
but-
stated the number of
I
rides.
see.
This one doesn't.
See, I wasn't here I
Yeah.
was in the hospital. But so you're saying that that last year you had an application for 12 to 14
Actually, we had an application for 12 to 15.
to 15.
And it was approved at 12 to 14.
Okay. So last year you had 12 to 15, the board gave you 14, and you think you used 14. And this year you're saying that so what are you seeking now? What's the number you're seeking now?
I don't have a number. I'm leaving
You're
it to the discretion
leaving
of
it
the
to
fire
whatever the
department.
carnival can fit in there and that the fire department says is okay?
Yes.
I'm not comfortable with that.
I'm not for that.
I'm just not comfortable with that. I wanna know right now how many are gonna be on there and whether they're gonna be an equal amount of kiddie rides and adult rides. I don't wanna leave an open-ended application like that where somebody can, I just feel, I like predictability, and everybody's telling me how great this has been the last few years. And I don't wanna see slow creep and it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then next thing you know, it's a little unmanageable. So if 14, if you had 14 last year, let's say, and you had 14 the year before, what's wrong with 14 this time?
There's room there for more, to make it more attractive to people, for the people to come down, for families to come down.
Yeah.
Okay, so, this is what I said last year, and this is what I'll say this year. And so, I don't think the board's in the business to determine the amount of rides. The board's in the business of approving or disapproving this. If they're disapproving it, there's gotta be a reason why they're disapproving it.
You know-
And wait a minute, let me finish, please. The disapproving should have some bite to it as to why we're disapproving it, whether it's a safety issue, or if it's an issue within the neighborhood. I get that there's something there. So for us to go in here as a board and say we're not gonna approve it because we want more kiddie rides, or we want a max to be 14 rides, I think is outside of our privy. As the applicant has stated, if he puts rides in there, it's conducive to safety with the police and fire, I really believe that that should be the same checkoff that we would use to approve or deny it. So I don't understand where this board's coming from in terms of determining rides and sizes and all of that.
Well, I will say this, I read the minutes and I saw the meeting last, I wasn't able to be there, but I saw the meeting. And respectfully, you, Tom, I think you were wrong. They're coming before us for a carnival permit. We, as the board, can dictate the strictures around that particular carnival application. If we wanted to say we're gonna make it all kiddie rides, if we're gonna say we're gonna make it 8 rides only, if we're gonna say we don't wanna ride over a certain height, I mean, that's the stuff that we do.
Okay.
So when you made that statement last year, I wasn't here, but if I was here, I would have said that I disagree with it. I think the board has
Okay.
the not only the ability, but the right to form the permit and give predictability to the applicant and the town as to what exactly we're approving.
Well, I think I would agree partially with that, but I would have to say that this board, if it's going to disapprove it, it has to disapprove it based on something.
Well, we're not talking about disapproving it, we're talking
Well, you're
about
saying-
issuing a permit with conditions that, it's not a disapproval, I just said I want to approve it, but I want to approve it and give the applicant an amount of rides they can have, and a certain amount that need to be children's rides, and a certain amount that need to be adult rides, so everybody knows
So
what we're doing.
I respectfully disagree, and that's fine. That's what we are, it's nothing personal. But I respectfully disagree that this board can make a determination on how many rides there are and the safety associated with those rides. When we have the fire department, the police department, the mandate that based on the amount of rides, the amount of traffic, and the amount of safety, this is okay. So I'd rather fall on that law with the experts. When we get into things like types of rides, quantities of rides with conditions, I really believe that that's moving past what our privy is.
It's just like when we have an application and say, I don't want the building to be over a certain amount of square feet, or I don't want the building to be over a certain height.
And the reason, and I would say the reason for that is, as we talked about, has to do with the location, it has to do with the way it sits in place and how it looks. We talked about that over and over again, where it's not conducive to the area. This is different. This is different where it's a 5-day or so, 6-day carnival event. They're in the business of producing something good for the town. The business is gonna make some money on it, certainly. That's okay. But I want to make sure that whatever they do meets the requirements of the police and the fire and the town. And if they do, then, and we deny, I would say respectfully, why are you denying it?
The bylaws say that someone has to come before us to do a carnival. We get to choose what kind of carnival it is. If we wanted to just have 3 or 4 kid rides that operate from a certain hour to a certain hour, we can do that. We can do whatever we want when it comes to the carnival. Now, as far as safety with the police and fire and all that, I get it. I trust them, that they know what they're gonna do. But we have the ability, and I think we have the obligation, to determine the size and scope of this and almost, I guess, in a certain way, the flavor of the particular event. Now, when it comes to money, I mean, we're now appropriating a pile of money to pay for things that before the carnival used to pay for. So money shouldn't even be an issue.
No, it's not even an
because we're
issue.
appropriating a town meeting, like 25 grand or something like that. So the money should be off the table. I'm talking about the character and flavor of this event. And when they come before us for a carnival, we have the ability to scope, shape, and give whatever flavor we want to that event.
But do you
Now,
think
I
we-
want to make it palatable for everybody. I want everybody to come and have a good time. I also want to keep it the way it's been the last few years because it's worked out wonderfully. Maybe it hasn't made the biggest buck, but it's worked out wonderfully, and I live right there.
So respectfully, I ask, why would you deny it?
I'm not denying, I'm talking about
No, what I'm
proving it.
saying is, if he doesn't want to go along with it and it goes to a vote, I think that the board would deny it. And so I'm saying, the question would be, what would be the reason for the denial?
I'm not denying it.
No, I'm
talking
saying,
about
what I'm
approving
trying.
it, but giving it a certain
Okay, so
structure.
if he doesn't want to do that, if the applicant doesn't want to do that, what's the approach of the board? If it goes for vote and you're not going to get that, I'm getting a sense you're not
Why
going to
wouldn't
approve
the
it.
applicant want to accept a permit that grants him, or I don't mean to single out Scott, the applicant? Why wouldn't the applicant want to accept a permit that we give him everything that they've had the last few years, but we just put it in writing? So we all know that it's there instead of leaving it open-ended. I want to give the 4th of July committee everything they've had the last 3 years. I want to give it to them, but I want to make sure that we all see, this is the permit, this is how many rides you have, this is how many kid ride, or up to how many rides you have. Now, if we want to increase it, by one more ride, they're saying that they looked for 15 last year and they got 14. If they give, I think, looking at this thing here, if they made a truly equal amount of kid rides and adult rides, they could probably get on an extra ride there, because they got 9 to 5 on this map.
Can I make a comment? So, I don't know how many years ago this came up where it was very controversial on this site, and the residents around it wanted it smaller. So, the 4th of July.
Some of the residents, not all of them.
Some of the residents, or a group of them, came to us. So, the 4th of July committee put together a plan. It was very conservative, right? They said, okay, well, let's go with 12 to 14 rides, and we think that that'd be something that's amenable. It was a guess, right? So they took a best guess. They were very conservative and safe, and said, let's put 14 rides on here. Well, it's run now for a number of years, right? And over the number of years, there haven't been any issues. We have police and fire telling them that you can put more rides on here. So I look at it and say, well, maybe they cut back a little too far. I'm not saying leave it open-ended, but maybe if they're getting advice from fire and police to say, hey, you know what, you can squeeze 1 or 2 more rides on there, and it's not going to affect the safety and the character of this, I'd be inclined to hear an increase, I mean, not an open-ended increase, but, you know, this was a trial basis, and it's.
If they do 15 rides and make them an equal amount, 1 more ride than they had last year, I don't see that it makes a difference. I wouldn't have a problem with that, and that's what they were looking for last year.
So I'd be inclined to increase the number, not open-ended, but whether it's 15 or 16, I don't know, maybe the carnival people have an idea, but like I said, not open-ended. So the last application had 12 to 14, maybe it goes 14 to 16.
Why wouldn't you go to 15, the amount they were looking for last year and didn't get, and see how it works?
No, they asked for 12 to 14
No, they asked for
last
15
year.
last year, and they got 12 to 14.
Oh, all right.
If I can just interject for a moment. 15 was the first year in this location, and we came in with an application that was denied, that requested a higher number of rides.
Yep.
The town came back with an application that had to have a significant change, and they reduced it to the 12 to 14. So that's where that number came from.
So
And then did you come in last year looking for 15?
12 to 15, we said.
Why don't we just give them 12, 15 with an equal amount of kid rides and adult rides and see how it works?
I have no problem.
They were looking
increasing
for that
it.
last year, they didn't get it. So we'll give it to them, but make sure that it's a split amount. I'm looking at this map, 9 to 5. If they made that an equal amount, 7-7 or, 7-6 or whatever it is, they make it 15, they might be able to do it. See how it works.
Well, my preference, I would totally agree with that, except for the fact, telling them whether they should have more kiddie rides. I think that's out of our purview.
It's not.
But the thing of it is, he's
Not.
saying that the older kids are looking for, he's not even looking for more kiddie rides, they're looking for more teenage rides.
Yeah, so
But I'm agreeing that if, the committee's agreeing, that if we add another major ride, we're gonna add a kiddie ride contemporaneously with that.
So then that kind of like defeats the purpose of adding more teenage rides,
Well-
if you're saying a kiddie ride, is a kiddie ride a teenage ride?
No, a kiddie ride is the little cars or.
Well, if they have 15 rides, they can't have an equal number of kiddie rides and adult rides.
You know what?
So,
Look, I mean, look, if
so you're gonna get one more adult ride than you are a kiddie ride, so
Or
let's-
vice versa. Look at, if it works, right in here, they have 9 to 5 on this map. 9 adult, 5 kid ride, right? And that equals 14. I'm not good at math, but I can do that. All right, so we got, if we were to go 8 adult and 7 kid, and then, I mean, that adds in 1 ride, but it also equalizes it to make them, it's not what this map is showing. It makes 7 kid rides and 8 adult rides. It's roughly equal. I mean, I'm not gonna split hairs. And it gives him the 15 he was looking for last year, and it keeps everybody honest. We all know how many rides are gonna be there. We all know that it's gonna be roughly an equal amount of kid rides and adult rides. We'll defer to the middle schoolers with 1 more good ride. You throw a good one on there. And then we all know it's 15, see how it works. But we need a baseline. We need to have, I don't like the open-ended.
I'm agreeing with you,
know.
that's what I said. I'm agreeing there needs to be a baseline, but I'm also agreeing that the number should not be hardlined at 14 or 15,
For
whatever
1
it is.
year. And then next year, if we wanna switch it.
I'd actually, is the carnival operator, did he just walk in?
Yes.
I'd like to hear, just for my own knowledge, what, you said you think you can fit more rides on there. Just so this board has, are you talking like you could fit 20 rides on there, or you could fit 16 rides on there? Just to,
I'm Larry Cushing, 54 Garden Ave,
Yeah.
which I operate the carnival with my family business. You know, we could put as many as 16 to 18 with no problem, but we're not looking to do that. In other words, we're just trying to fill it in just a little bit more. There's a little more open space there, to give some of the other kids what they deserve to have as well for rides. And that's basically what it comes down to.
So kiddie kids or a teenage kid?
We're gonna put a little bit of each.
Well,
But you just said you're not looking to,
just
you
for-
said you could put 16 to 18, but you're not looking for that.
Well, no. I'm saying we can put as many as 16 to 18 with no problem.
Right.
All right, there's plenty of space there for us to do that. But after that point, that would be as far as you can go, because there's not enough space to do any more than that.
So if I'm
And
offering
some
up
of the reasons,
15.
and some of the reasons why is that we have to have large openings for the fire department
Okay.
going in and out, so.
But
that
but
limits
if
some of
what
the
if what you were looking for last year was 15 and you only got 14, I'm saying go ahead, we'll give you 15. In fact, we'll give you 1 more adult ride than kid ride. I don't see, what's wrong with that? Is there any, do you have a problem with that?
Well, I like to try and work as much equipment as I possibly can. I mean, as a person that owns a business, so I'm not gonna say that.
I'm not as concerned with the number of the rides personally as the
Yeah.
flavor of the event. I like it, and this is where the chairman and I might, the chairman of the committee and I might disagree. I love the fact that I see a lot of families and strollers and young kids, and they block off the street, and it's safe, it's friendly, and everyone's in a great mood. There's no problem. It's been. I can't tell you how great it's been the last few years. Living there has been a pleasure. I have no worries at all. It's turned into something, and I never thought it would work on that spot. I was against it, and Scott, when they were talking about putting it there, I was like, hell no, and I was against it. What you've had there the last few years has been fantastic, and I'm totally in favor of it, but I think the reason is it's been more geared towards a family event. And the reason that it's been that is because of the amount of the kid rides. So I'm more concerned with memorializing that there's an equal amount of kid rides and adult rides than the actual number. So that's why I'm saying I'll give you a 15. I might even give you 1 extra adult ride if that's going to make it a little bit better for you. But I just like the equal amount. I think it makes for a better time. I think it's better for the town.
Yeah, and that's why I put in the presentation, and it will be in the contract.
Right. But I get worried when I see a map that shows 9 to 5. That's all. Because usually when we see maps, we're real sticklers about, in fact, we've had members sort of ask that the map be resubmitted when they ask for something, because when we approve it, we're approving what's on the map. So that's my only concern.
I understand, and as I mentioned somewhat tritely 2 years ago, I used to come in and say, here's the schedule, and you'd say, okay.
Right.
So when the location changed, we thought it appropriate that we came in with a map that we deemed to be a sample layout of what would be there. Never intended to be hard and fast.
Right.
I'd like to just run through rationale not as a challenge, just so I understand going forward. The section under which we're applying says that you can approve a carnival provided such uses are limited to appropriate restrictions on the number of days and hours of operation. Now, I understand your purview is greater than that under the special permit bylaw, but going forward, I'd like to know, A, what's feared by having a couple more rides, and where in the bylaw it says you can start dictating the character and quality of the event.
You did it in your application. You said an equal amount of children ride and adult ride, and I'm giving you the extra ride. And I'm giving you the extra adult ride. So I'm actually giving you what you want. But and I think the reason this is important that we get it in writing and we get so everybody knows is because, right, this is an evolving process, right? We see how it works. If one year it works fantastic, if something doesn't work, next year we can tweak it. Every year we come back and say, hey, you know what? Maybe that wasn't quite enough. We'll give you another one. Oh, you know what? We'll scale that one back. Whatever it is, every year we can come and tweak it until it works perfect. I'm telling you, what you have right now is great. From my point of view, from the neighbor's point of view, maybe not from the profit margin point of view, maybe the adult kids don't want to hang out there. But you know what? I think adult kids are doing a lot of other stuff anyway at this point. But my point is, it's why mess with something that's working great? It's working fantastic. The police officers I've spoken to are thrilled with it. There's no problems. The neighbors that I've spoken to are thrilled with it. There's no problems. The character of the event is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I commend you guys for it. So I just want to make sure it stays that way.
So, and on that point,
But excuse me one moment. I think that's beyond your purview.
I don't.
Start judging the character of the event. That's.
No, we have to approve a carnival. Therefore, we have to approve the dictates of what is that carnival. Are we going to have burlesque shows in there? Up in Maine, the carnivals are a lot different than what you get around here. They have trailers. You go into them, and divorces come out. So I'm telling you, we do have a right to dictate the flavor, size, and scope of that event. I feel, and I'm giving you what you want, Scott. You wanted 15 last year. They didn't give it to you. I'm saying I feel comfortable giving it to you, as long as it's an equal amount and even one more. See how it works.
What, you're giving the committee.
When I say the committee,
know.
I'm saying you, because
Yeah.
you're the face of the committee. I know it's not you.
You're granting what we requested last year, not necessarily what we're requesting this year, which is to put.
I'm granting you what you were denied last year,
What we requested last year.
and were denied.
Yeah.
I'm saying, let's give it to you. Let's see how it works. But I want an equal amount of kid rides and adult rides. I don't see what's objectionable with that.
so isn't the application for 12 to 14?
No,
Or
it doesn't
you
state.
just
Open-ended.
left it open-ended?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not for open-ended. I don't think that's, we have to also, talk to or explain to the neighbors, if it's a community thing, then, neighbors are important.
Absolutely.
So-
And I think with everything the chairman said, we've shown that we've been mindful and attentive to the neighbors, as has the town public safety.
No problem with that. You've bent over backwards for the neighborhood. I appreciate it. I know my neighbors appreciate it. I have no problem with that at all. You've been nothing but gracious, the whole committee. I have no
And I
problem.
think that's great, so why can't we keep it the same? No
Well, no, we're
problem.
giving them one more.
Well, you said one more, I didn't agree with that.
I agree with giving them, I mean, they asked for 12 to 15 last year. It's open-ended this year. I'd be okay, 12 to 15, 12 to 16. I'm okay with either one of those, as long as it is approved by the, keep the same language that Scott already has in there, an equal number, and I'm okay with a number on it that says 12 to 16 as approved by the police and fire department for safety access and
With an
stuff like
equal
that.
amount, then it would be, then if it's 12, if it's up to 16,
Then
then it
it's
could
an-
be an equal amount of
That's what
kid
his,
rides
that's
and
what his
adult rides.
application says.
Well, that's not what the map says, though. You're the first one to always pull the map
I'm
and say
not
that's
done
what
yet.
it says.
I'm not done yet. His application asks for an equal number.
Right.
Right? I would make a motion to approve it with 12 to 16 rides,
Mm-hmm.
with an equal, as requested, and just cross out all the letters that are on here, so that they're not kiddie and they're not regular rides, and it's an equal number, so they're getting 2 extra rides upon the approval of police and fire. I'm fine with that, and that, I have no issue with that.
I have an issue with that. I'll go 15, but I'm not going 16.
Well, we haven't even heard, has planning board given a recommendation on this? I don't think
Or
they
you
ever,
wanna go
No.
to
they ever
15?
do, but anyway, I'm gonna open it up, we haven't even heard from the gallery, so I'm gonna open up a public comment. Does anybody wish to be heard on this application?
I always do.
Name, please, and address.
Suzanne Crooker, 135 Middlesex. And I have several comments. Should I do just all of them right through? Okay.
It's your floor.
First, is the rain date just if it's fireworks, or is it for any particular night a rain date?
No, it's just for Saturday.
Just for Saturday?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
in that case, I would agree with going ahead and say the 10 o'clock, but if you were having a rain date from another night,
No,
to move
no.
it to Sunday, no,
No.
okay. And I feel like, as Mr. Veerman stated, I am a direct abutter, it's in my front yard, and I have been pleased with the carnival the past few years. I was very, very concerned when it first was proposed. But the 50-50 and the smaller footprint has been very effective. And I feel very strongly, having talked to a number of people who have families, that they're very pleased with the smaller footprint because they can come, they can bring their children, they can see them. They're not losing them in a crowd of too many rides and too many extra spaces. So I would be very, if you want to go to 15, I'm okay with that as long as you keep the absolute 50-50. And I felt that Mr. Cushing took note of our concerns last year and was very conscious of keeping it at the 50-50. We did appreciate last year there's no smoking sign at the back end of our driveway. Since the year before, when the truck got there, we became the de facto smoking spot.
Now you have to worry about smoking what?
I'm not worried about that, that's up to the police. And you've already addressed the hours of setup, which I'm pleased. And I kind of wanted to say that, you know, like Bill Belichick says, it is what it is. I feel like the carnival is what it is as long as it maintains what it's been for the past 3 years, because I felt that it's been very effective and I've been pleased with it. So I would go with the 15 as long as you keep the 50-50 and not go past 10 o'clock, ever. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Andrew Stewart, 136 Middlesex. First off, I want to say thanks to Scott for reaching out. I really appreciate it. Multiple times answering questions. Very much appreciated. The one comment, we actually bought the house on the fireworks, which was amazing for us to come and see the fireworks. It was a great one. But the one thing was the smell of the generators from the rides in our backyard. We have a little baby. We're concerned about that. The more rides, I'd be concerned about more fumes coming in. It was persistent and pungent as we were moving all our things into the yard. I don't know if there's ways to situate the generators in different places, if they're per unit or I'm not sure how that works at all. But that's a definite concern. And I do appreciate the problems that the solutions to problems that I don't even know exist, like having the snow boundary that Scott
Yes,
had,
the snow fence.
and the trash barrels around. So I appreciate whatever those solutions were in previous years where we weren't here for those to continue. So.
Yeah, I had reached out to Andrew and his wife by letter, not having met them, my email address. So we had some back and forth, and there are certainly some things, snow fence, for example, that we've done in the past for that property that I'll bring up when we meet with the town. One of the things that came out of the discussion was perhaps some trash barrels running from the common past your house, if you're okay with it.
Yep.
Probably as far as Adams Street, just for people leaving the common to have someplace to put things and make sure they get emptied every night.
The committee's been very deferential to the neighborhood. I feel like this is a neighborhood meeting. I'm looking out, and half the people in the gallery are my direct neighbors. I gotta say that the committee has been very deferential and accommodating to my neighborhood, and that's appreciated. So, I can't stress enough how great the celebration has been. There's been no anxiety. Everyone's been fine. It feels good. See all these families coming in there, and you just get a good feeling. So I just want to say that. So anybody else wish to be heard? Ma'am?
Joan Searfoss, 5 Powder House Circle. I'm in a butter, and my neighbors have nothing but good things to say about the celebration. And there's no conflict of interest, but I'm also on the 4th of July committee.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, anyone, sir?
Larry Cushing, 54 Garden Ave. There are a couple of things that I would ask if it were possible. The one thing that, when we go to set the carnival up, I would like to ask if we could start at 7 o'clock, which that's usually any time in the town of Wilmington you can actually start to work with any kind of noise, but even when we first start, we really don't make any noises anyways. Starting at 8 o'clock, it's just that hour later, or that hour longer to get ourselves going in the morning. So if there's any way possible, we could start at 7. That would be
I mean,
a huge help.
I don't have any particular problem with that. We could make that a part of any motion that we did, make that, we'll extend the construction hours of the carnivals beginning at 7 a.m. It would only have to be on
It would
one
just be
day.
for the first couple of days that we're setting up, that's it.
What do you have 1 or 2 days to set up?
We'll have 2 days to set up this year, because we're opening on Wednesday. So we'd need Monday and Tuesday to set up right away.
Well, I got 3 neighbors here. What do you think?
Because if you notice, if there's one thing that we try to do, especially where I live here. I mean, this is my home. I've lived here my whole life, so it's not like I just fell into the town. But to me, it's very important that my name means a lot, especially whenever we pull into the town of Wilmington. So I'm going to do everything possible to make everything right.
I appreciate
So if there's any problems with a neighbor, if they want to come and see me and speak to me, more than welcome.
Can you do anything about the generator that smell, or is that one big
Well, we actually have
generator?
2 generators. We're in the process of buying a new generator right now. So we'll probably just have one that's going to be more towards the center. So we're going to eliminate 1 generator next year, or this year, I should say. And where it's brand spanking new, if there's any smells, I'd be really shocked.
I mean, and I can't stress enough, my intent is to feel through this year by year, see how it goes. If there are adjustments that need to be made for whatever reason, as long as they work, I think it's good to do this incrementally, see what happens, and then if it works this year, and then think, oh geez, we can do 16 next year or whatever, then do that. But at least start off, don't make a blanket statement, leave it curtailed, and see how it works. I'm only one person. I feel comfortable going to 15 with the half and half, but I mean, I'll bring it back to I'm going to close the public hearing unless anyone else wants to be heard.
I have
Sure.
one other request.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is possible as well. When we're coming into Wilmington, we have to pretty much go all over the place or go down to the Shriners to park a lot of our equipment. We're in Framingham, we're not very far away. We'd like to be able to at least bring the equipment onto the property up until maybe 11 o'clock at night. And then after that time, we shut everything down, we don't bring anything else in.
You mean bring it in there the night before?
No, in other words, we'll be tearing down Sunday in the location we're at.
Right.
So typically, when most places we go to, we usually bring it right to the location that we're gonna be working at next.
Right.
So we'd like to be able to pack the stuff right there.
What night would that? Well, when
That would
would
be
that-
Sunday night, when we come in. So we'd bring stuff up until 11 o'clock and that's.
No construction, just driving it onto the
Just
site.
driving on the property, parking the equipment, that's it.
As long as there's no noise at 11
Yeah,
o'clock.
which, there's like next to nothing for noise.
So you're saying pull in, shut it off, leave?
Yeah, either pull in, drop it, or shut it off, and leave it stay.
Well, in fairness to them, when you say drop it, what do you mean drop it?
In other words, we might park the trailer and pull the truck out and go after it.
How much noise is involved in dropping it?
Very little.
Just as much as the truck driving down the road.
Yeah. And
You know what,
if anything, I'd make it a point to tell all my drivers that they just crawl, so you're not even hear them.
Again, this goes back to my original feeling that this is a work in progress. I don't have any problem with that myself. I'll have the board weigh in on it. I don't have any problem with that. And if it is, if it turns in that it's like bang, 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 on Sunday night, then next year we can tweak that a little bit. I mean, that's why I think it's good to kind of like feel our way through this and not just leave everything kind of.
Can I make a suggestion that the carnival is permitted to run till 10? Instead of 11, could we say 10?
For pulling the trucks in?
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, it's.
That was my understanding what the request was gonna be.
Yeah, well, I figure if you ask a little more, you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that would have been, I don't know.
You sound like you run a union shop.
No, definitely not a union job.
And just to point out, Larry can refute or support this, this is
kind of idiosyncratic to this year, where they're leaving and where they're coming, and the days of the week.
Right. It's a malleable situation. Does anybody else wish to be heard from the public? Going once, going twice, I'm closing the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Does anyone have any additional comments or wish to make a motion?
So I one quick comment. So I'd like to say whatever's been added here, I would want it to be in the conditions of our proposal to approve.
Whatever they've.
Yeah, so the applicant would have to bring that up, and we would look at it as a condition to his application.
Yeah, we'll put all the things we discussed that no one had any problem with in the form of a motion, if anyone cares to make it.
I'll make a motion. So I will make a motion to approve the special permit in accordance with 4.1.9 for Carnival to run from July 3rd through Saturday, July 6th, 2019, rain date 7/7/19, with conditions.
Oh, you might just put in there the days and hours as specified in the application.
Well, it's read it, so with date, so.
See,
As referenced in the days and hours as referenced in the narrative of the application.
What he said.
Okay.
As referenced in the, report, with the conditions, no more than 15 rides, to be also 50/50 on children's rides and adults' rides.
Now, so if it's 15, you're gonna have to give one extra, one way or the other.
One child, so one extra child, kitty one. I like 14 better, but, so did you get that? So, all
Yep.
right. And the conditions with the construction, that you can set up 2 days prior at, a 7 a.m. Setup, and dropping off no later than 10 p.m. on 2 days prior. Do we have a date? So would that be this July 2nd?
First, it would be June 30th, I believe, right? June 30th?
The Sunday's June 30th, yes. So, no later than
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
30.
I guess that would be it for now.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'd like to discuss the motion.
You're seconding it for,
Second,
hold on,
discussion.
hold on, one at a time. You're seconding it for discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, maybe, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'd like to amend the motion, or make an amendment to the motion, that the number of rides not exceed, we said 15, and the applicant can decide where the extra ride goes to, whether it's a kiddie or an adult. She stated it had to be a kiddie ride.
So your motion would be a maximum of 15 rides, equally apportioned, and the applicant choosing where to apportion the extra ride?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
all right, well, do you want to make that part of your motion, so we don't have to
That's-
amend it?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll agree to that.
All right, so your motion would then read a maximum of 15 rides, 8 kiddie ride, 8 adult ride, and 1 extra to be determined by the applicant how to apply it.
Well,
No, excuse me, 7 and 7 with 1 extra to be applied by the applicant. See, I told you I'm not good in that.
Correct.
got it.
Yes.
With the other conditions.
Yes, with
All right.
yes.
Yes.
So now we have a renewed motion by Ms. Santini. Do we have a second on that motion?
Second motion.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Whoa, we're still in discussion. So, does the applicant have a problem with what's been proposed by the board? I mean, do you have any issues associated with that?
I still don't understand the basis for limiting it to 15?
Do you have a
Everything
problem?
else-
I understand your viewpoint, and you know our viewpoint, you've heard it, right? Do you have a problem with what's been proposed here?
I don't have a problem complying with it.
Okay.
I don't have a problem complying with it. Do
Yeah.
I like it? No, but.
No,
I
but you don't have a problem complying with it, okay, okay.
All right, so we have a motion that was seconded. It was seconded for discussion. Now, do we have a second to vote on the motion?
Second.
That was your motion. We have a motion and a second to vote on the motion. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, folks.
Happy 4th of July.
You as well. Time to
Thanks,
get back to
thanks,
work.
Scott.
Thank you.
We'll get it. We're gonna get it, I promise. Okay, final hearing tonight is, picking up my agenda, grab my agenda.
Hopefully no one will get it first in.
All right. Last case on the docket is case 519, 26 Linda Road. Antonio
Yeah.
forgive me.
Yeah.
Scopatulo? Scopatulo, pardon me. Map 88, parcel 31, to acquire a special permit in accordance with 6.1.6.4 to add a second floor addition. I apologize, folks, you had to wait, but we had a number of cases that had been continued over, so we had a long docket tonight. How are you? Why don't you let us know what you're looking for?
We're looking to, my husband and I, we own the property, this is my father. We're looking to add on to the top of our house to put a little living area, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, maybe a little laundry facility. My mom has dementia, and we don't want to look at nursing homes. We want to look at bringing her and my father over so we can take care of and not have to go through the horror of that. And that's our basis for wanting to do it. We like where we live, we like our area, we like our street. That's why we're not looking to get another home. And if it can be approved, that's what we would like to do.
She basically, right now, my wife is to a point, I guess you'd call it moderate to severe dementia, where she can't even dress herself.
Yeah.
She needs help dressing herself. She can eat herself, don't get me wrong and stuff, but you
We're
don't want her
putting the clothes on
You
backwards
don't want her
and-
near her, trying to cook anything or anything
Yeah.
else. But basically, as far as dressing herself, she has a lot of trouble dressing herself. So instead of considering a home, which I don't want to see her in a home, my daughter and her husband suggested that, why don't, we have a home right now, we live in Everett, we've been there for 45 years, it's a single-family house. My daughter suggested, Dad, why don't you think about selling the house and coming up here with us, so somebody can watch her anyway.
Someone's home.
So the idea was to go up and put a second level on the house. It'd be 2 additional bedrooms upstairs, with an old office room, I guess you call it, a little office room, laundry room, and shower, area, living room. So that's the whole idea, why they want to do it, why we want to do it.
Gotcha.
So a question I have is this considered, in your mind, an in-law apartment, or?
I don't think you call it, there'd be no kitchen area up there, because I definitely do not want my wife near a stove, because of the situation that she really.
So this is, you're gonna have, the kitchen's not gonna change. You're just gonna, you're gonna have 2 bedrooms and you said a bath, or?
There'd be 2 bedrooms, a shower, living room, and they made a little office room up there.
Yeah.
You know, a little
It's the same entrances and exits?
It would be, one entrance would be to get in the house, and there'd be a separate flight of stairs, of course, to go up. They're taking one of the bedrooms, existing bedrooms downstairs, and that's why the additional bedroom would be put upstairs.
So you have a separate entry going into that section of the addition?
No, they don't, no. We just go in the living room.
And up through?
And then go upstairs,
Right.
yes.
So it's like a colonial, it would be like a
Like a
colonial.
colonial.
Yeah.
So you have
Yeah.
a ranch and you go into a colonial.
Exactly.
No change of stairs.
No.
No, other than adding the second level stairs
Yeah.
to go up to the
Right,
second level.
right,
Yes,
right,
yes,
right,
yes,
right.
That's it.
That's it.
And the reason you're here is because the frontage is not conforming,
Yeah.
correct?
That's what they told us, so. I don't know much about Wilmington as far as.
It's
septic
relatively
and stuff like
straightforward.
that,
Do
so-
we have a planning board recommendation on this? Can you ask if they're gonna stop, if they have stopped providing us with those? Because usually we get a breakdown and they say, we don't always have to follow it, but they give each application and whether they recommend approval or disapproval.
So the planning board referred to the building inspector on it.
Okay.
They said that they didn't need to see it because it wasn't a change of use, or it was all zoning.
I've been on this board for 14 years and they have weighed in, much to my chagrin, on everything.
Really?
So if they don't want to do it anymore, fine by me, because sometimes they aggravate me. But if they, I just want to we usually get a letter, and it usually gives the list of all the stuff on our docket, and it will say, planning board recommends approval, planning board recommends disapproval, the reasons why, it's like a 1-page deal.
All right,
If you
I
can
did-
ask
yeah.
Valerie if they're gonna be continue, maybe they don't wanna do it anymore,
I
which is
will.
fine
I
by
know
me.
Valerie's been out
Okay.
So that might be the reason, unexpectedly, that might be.
But
the
you have
reason I
not heard
didn't-
anything from planning as to whether they have any problem with this application?
No, not at all.
Did you already go through planning?
We're
No,
here
no,
because
sometimes they don't have to, they
Yeah.
just chime in. They feel like they wanna chime in on everything that we
they
have.
It was because of the frontage, we needed to get a special permit. And that's why we're here. My husband came up and brought the plans up, did whatever else he had to do. Then we had to get the plans in before last month to have it brought here, and that was it.
All right, so there's a finding on the record that the planning board has not made any objection known to this board of this application. I'm going to close the public hearing as there's no public. We're gonna come back to the board. Does anyone wish to make any comment, questions, or motion?
So I just want input from Tony on it. So what do you think on this one?
I don't have a problem with
No.
Can I ask a question? So, do you have a carport? Are you,
No, my son-in-law has like a little,
Yeah.
area, I guess you'd call it a carport, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
it's on the side, it's separate,
Yeah.
it's not enclosed, I mean,
Yeah.
when I say enclosed, it's not attached to the house.
Yeah,
in
no,
any
just
way
a
or
separate
anything else.
little area.
Yeah.
He had approval of that before. We
Yeah.
had all the permits and whatnot for that.
the carport on the right side of the house is existing.
Yeah, yeah.
Is just out of curiosity, is the driveway on the left side over here, is this new or existing?
No, the driveway is
that's
where it's
existing.
always
Yeah,
been.
that's existing.
Yeah, it's-
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Anything further?
additional as built, so what, is this already there too?
Yeah,
What
that
is-
we
what
did
is it?
2 years ago. That's a dining room.
No, that's not the dining room.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
trying to
It's,
think what
it's,
that is.
it says,
that the first level
addition
one?
as built.
Yeah,
that's-
yeah, that was.
That's a dining
Yeah,
room?
that's our dining room. We did that 2 years
Yes,
ago.
that's the dining room, yes,
Yeah.
that's it, that's the existing room right here, so on and so forth, so basically, they're just gonna take this area right here.
Go
and
on.
do it.
Yeah.
That's it. So the dining room will stay down, and it
Yeah.
won't be anything on top
So
of that.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, is everybody done? I have a question. So this is on a septic, right?
Yes.
Septic
Yeah.
system, so
Yeah.
is the septic, now you're going to 4
Mhm,
bedrooms,
we
right?
can get approval for it.
You got approval
Yeah,
for
they've
it?
already said we could. We've already brought that up to the town, and we already have a proposal from one of the guys that the town recommended, that we would
So
be
you have an
able to do.
approved septic system for 4 bedrooms?
We can do 4 bedrooms.
You can do up to 4
We can
bedrooms
do
with
up
the
to 4
existing
bedrooms.
septic system you
Yeah.
have?
No, we have to do a new septic system, but we have enough that we can do a 4-bedroom septic.
In other words, they must have enough area.
We have enough
That-
area
that-
outside, exactly.
I don't know much about septics, because they never, we have the
Exactly.
city sewer, so.
So along with this, you're gonna expand the septic system?
We have to. We were told we had to. When we brought it to the town, we were told we had to.
So, it's almost like we don't have a lot on this. I don't understand why we don't have what we normally get. It's almost like, it's like what's happened, you know what I mean? It's like,
Well, it's a very minor request. It's a tiny little area that they're
Well,
doing. And there wasn't a planning board recommendation, other than we have copies of the actual multi-page approvals. But I mean, we didn't get it for any of them.
Tom, they're increasing the number of bedrooms. The building inspector's not gonna, when you go for a building permit, they have to go to all the department heads. They have to go to the fire department.
Yeah.
They have to go to the Board of Health. They all have to sign off on it.
Right. Do
The
you
Board of
have-
Health is not gonna sign off on it unless the septic
do you
system.
know what's been signed on?
I don't know that, but they're not gonna get a building permit for it if
So
they
is that a
don't.
condition?
No,
We can't condition the
No,
septic.
what I'm saying is, you're saying it has to go before.
to
so
get a
should-
building permit.
I understand, so shouldn't we have all that information completed
No,
before
because
we
they
vote on
can't
it?
apply for a building permit until they get the special permit.
But he just said they had to get a septic approval.
They determined that it's feasible for them to do it. So they wouldn't come here if they didn't have enough area on their lot to put the septic system in, then they wouldn't have came here. They wouldn't have wasted their time. So I do this all the time. They looked at the feasibility of increasing the septic system, and they determined it's feasible.
Where does it say that?
I don't really care, because they're not gonna get a permit unless it gets approved by the health department.
And as a 4-bedroom, they're gonna need, they will have to get a new septic with 4 built.
Well,
So they
no,
go-
I mean, some septic systems are sized for 4
We have 3
bedrooms.
bedrooms
Yeah,
right
but
now.
they have 3 bedrooms.
I
Yeah,
know,
that's
but,
what it is.
I have a friend who has a
Basically, they
3-bedroom
wanna
house,
Add a bedroom.
and there's a size for 4 bedrooms. So septic systems can be oversized, and they can add a bit,
Well, let's
Some
talk,
houses-
let's talk to the
Sure, I
the septic
agree.
guru here.
No, I agree, but they're saying that they have a 3-bedroom now, so they have to get, if they put 4 bedrooms, then they have to get a new septic
As you know,
anyways.
Tony, what they do is, just as Ms. Santini said, that they have a 3-bedroom, but I'm sure they check with the Board of Health first to make sure they have the area and the offsets to be able to fit legally a 4-bedroom, probably with no variances, to make this actually work. Because they can't obtain a variance if it's, adding a 4th bedroom, and plus, they have to check zone 2 and all that if they're in the, right, so, again, they have to go through the permit process in order to keep going. So even if we approve it, they still have a process to go
Well,
further.
again, it's backing into it, but.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
It is
Tom,
back-
I want
it
to be, I
definitely
want,
is.
they're not backing into it. This is, you cannot apply for a building permit until you have the special permit, Tom. You can't. It doesn't work that way.
So everybody that comes before the board doesn't have to have that upfront stuff because it's forced into the approval process.
The only people who have to have that septic stuff up front is when they go through site plan review. Because it's a project that's significant enough to warrant doing all that engineering ahead of time. This doesn't warrant that. So that's, the system is set up with all these safeguards so that stuff doesn't get built that shouldn't get built.
That's stuff all over Wilmington like that.
I don't think we can even go any further unless you people say it's okay to do it. So that's why we're basically, why we're here.
Exactly, and it's a
The-
necessity, that's why
The
we're
architect
here.
blew the plans, and the plans, I think, my son-in-law, I believe, brought 2 sets of plans up. And we can't go any farther unless you people say you can go ahead.
Everybody has a role.
No, that's what I'm saying, I understand that, but I mean.
And our role
this
is just the special
Right,
permit.
right.
That's it.
Yeah, and unless you people say it's a go, then we can't even go any further than that. We can't even, I don't think, have one of the septic people come in and do what you call a perk test, I guess, or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Unless you get the okay to do so.
I'm comfortable with making a motion. Can I make a motion?
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, for case 5-19 to acquire a special permit in accordance with 6.1.6.4 to add a 2nd floor addition to 26 Linder Road.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second, just to, for discussion, just to amend the motion to state as submitted in the drawings
Oh, yeah.
dated August 16th.
Well, rather than making an amendment, why don't you ask the maker of the motion if she'll add that to her original motion?
Actually, I would like to amend my motion
Nope,
to.
you want to supplement your motion.
Supplement my motion, to add the plans that were submitted today, as we have in hand, I don't know.
Submitted.
Submitted.
Okay? Now we have a motion, do we have a second on the motion for a vote?
Second.
We have a second, all those in favor? Unanimous. Good luck. You got it. You got it, at least as far as this board's concerned, you have what you need from us.
Okay.
So
I guess we
just
just-
That's it.
You're all set.
You're gonna get an approval,
Shelley
Yeah.
in building and health.
Okay, all right.
and good luck to
Thank
you,
very much.
and good luck to your wife. I hope
hope so.
everything works
Thank
out.
Thank
you
you.
very much. Appreciate it.
God bless. All right. Do we have any minutes or anything that we need to go through?
Yes, I don't have them with me, but if we could approve the minutes from the, February 27th.
Why don't
that I
you
submitted.
wait, why don't we wait till has everybody reviewed them?
I have not.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
why don't we wait
Okay.
and circulate the final draft to everybody one more time?
Okay.
Because that was a humdinger.
Right.
All right, so why don't we just make sure that everybody's on the same page? So other than that, is there anything else that we need to deal with?
I just have the approvals for you to sign
I can
that
do
were
that.
made tonight.
Yep, I can do that for you right now.
Wilmington Road, so here's so far. So the only one I'm holding back is the one that was for the Airbnb at 7 Concord.
Yeah,
which
that's-
the applicant was
Hold on.
not here.
What?
Those written up without the conditions that we had
Nouria Energy. Mapvale, there were no conditions on
Right,
that.
that one's okay.
Mapvale, no conditions on that. Pokkets, no conditions on that.
And the 4th of July is the one that has the conditions, so
Sure.
I'll redo that.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that.
So the fact that we reference the planning board's recommendations as, or planning board's conditions doesn't have to be in the decision? I'm just asking a question.
No, well, the planning board is, I mean, we can't condition us based on something the planning board did. We can't, I mean.
Well, absolutely, we can. The planning board made conditions, Dan.
Right.
And we made our approval.
Right, but the planning board is making the applicant comply with their conditions under their, whatever their conditions
Okay,
are.
so if you're saying that we don't have to have it in our
Yeah,
decision.
we don't go through the planning board's approval, and say they give an approval, and they say it's conditioned upon A, B, C, and D. We don't have to then turn around and say, and by the way, you have to do what the planning board says you have to do. That's superfluous, we don't have to do that. We add conditions of our own, things that we have control over, but that's like saying, oh, and I wanna make
that's
sure the
fine.
curb cut and the landscaping
Dan, I'm
and,
just asking because in the past, we've conditioned it to include the planning board's conditions. If we're not, if we don't legally, or if we don't, as a point of procedure, don't have to do that, then that's fine. I didn't realize that. In the past, we have.
if you want, feel free to shoot an email to town council. The planning board is a separate autonomous board with their own responsibilities and powers and authorities. If they issue conditions that the applicant has to do to get their approval, then why should we have to reiterate those and not, because we don't even really have the authority to say, yeah, we want the curb cut over here, we want the berm over here, we want this over here.
That's fine.
So, I mean, they already have to do it on the planning board, just like these folks had to get their septic from the Board of Health. We have nothing to do with that. So for us saying, oh, we're gonna condition this on you having the proper septic, it's a legal nullity, because we don't have the authority to do it, and they're gonna have to get it from Health anyway. Things are gonna get gummed up.
If I can
It's been hard lately.
state too, if, for the minutes, it'll be in there, stating that you reviewed their conditions and,
Right.
you know, that everything will be in there.
I don't even know if we can legally, affect a granted permit based upon a violation of a condition set by another board. I don't know if we have the authority to do that.
But you're saying that's been done in the past?
I just, the ZBA, I've always believed, is the permit granting authority, which we are. So the planning board is a recommendation. It's not a condition, it's a recommendation. So
But their site plan condition is a condition on the approval of the site plan.
Okay.
Their recommendations to us are like,
All right,
hey,
all
we
right.
think you should grant this,
Okay.
even though it has nothing to do with us. And sometimes I've told the planning board, go screw, because if that has nothing to do with you, we'll make that decision.
Like I said, Dan, I'm just recollecting in the past, we'd always referenced the planning board's recommendations, and if that is incorrect, then
How many times
I've been corrected.
How many times have you seen me, how many times has the planning board come in and said, we recommend disapproval? And I've said, I don't care, I'm approving it, and we've approved it. Because those are just recommendations. The site plan is their authority, that's actually what they have the right to do. And we don't have the right to step on them, just like they can't step on us. All right, is there anything else? All right, how many cases do we have so far on the meeting for next month?
Just one.
Just the one. Okay, and just so the board knows, the meeting next month is going to be on?
The 17th.
The 17th, so it's not gonna be on our usual Wednesday, it's gonna be the 17th. Okay, anybody have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, do we have a second? We have a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
What
Take care,
day is
everybody.
that?